It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for Grand Rounds today. Dr. Murali Krishna is a senior psychiatrist in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He is widely recognized for his dedication, compassion, mind-body expertise, and skills for helping people achieve their true potential of emotional wellness. Dr. Krishna is a community ambassador and board member for the Arcadia Trails Integris Center for Addiction Recovery. He also serves as the founding president and a board member for the Integris James L. Hall Jr. Center for Mind, Body, and Spirit. As an educational organization devoted to improving the health through raising the awareness of the healing power of the connection between mind, body, and spirit. He has also served as past president of Integris Mental Health. In 2010, Dr. Krishna and his family established the Dr. R. Murali Krishna Family Eliminate the Stigma Award to honor individuals and organizations that have shown outstanding contributions to the community by eliminating the stigma surrounding mental illness and improving the lives of those affected by mental illness. The respected award is given annually at the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Oklahoma Walk in Oklahoma City. Committed to improving the health of the people in our communities, Dr. Krishna believes that each one of us has the responsibility to care for those in need, and he is grateful for the opportunity to create positive changes in people's lives. He is an expert on emotional wellness, the mind, body, and spirit connection, and how each of these influences the other. Through his mental health and addiction recovery services, he has become an innovator and a champion for the people of Oklahoma struggling with mental health. He is often interviewed by television and print news organizations, and his tireless efforts have earned him numerous national and international awards and recognitions. Dr. Krishna was bestowed with the prestigious honor of Distinguished Life Fellow, which is the highest recognition given by the American Psychiatric Association. With the assistance of his good friend, Kelly Dyer Fry, editor of The Oklahoman, Dr. Krishna wrote an inspiring and educational book entitled Vibrant: To Heal and Be Whole, From India to Oklahoma City. While working together on this project, they discussed their shared dream with other community-minded visionaries of developing a world-class center for addiction recovery in Oklahoma to address the crisis of addiction, mental illness, and trauma. Their dream became a reality when Arcadia Trails Integris Center for Addiction Recovery opened in May of 2019 on the Integris Health Edmond campus. Dr. Krishna is one of the 4 founding visionaries. So it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Dr. Murali Krishna, who will be speaking on building resiliency in the era of COVID-19. Please welcome Dr. Krishna.
Thank you, Dr. Alexopoulos. I'm honored to be here by your invitation. And I would like you to know, all the audience know, that I have worked with Dr. Alexopoulos for 13 years now at the State Board of Health. She is a tireless leader, and I'm very, very honored to have seen her leadership, her great articulation and direction of the state health. And she's a great friend, and it's a wonderful honor to have worked with you and continue to work with you, Jenny. And thank you for joining us today. And we're going to talk about how do you build resilience? How do you cope with the acute stress of what's going on with this tsunami of the COVID-19 that has hit us early part of the year and continues to devastate our community in many, many ways. So before we go into that, I'll share a clean joke with you because laughter is very healthy for you. As you can see, Dr. Hall's face filled with laughter and beautiful smile. When you smile, when you laugh, your circulation goes up by 22% throughout the body, from top of the head to the tip of the toes. Who has discovered that? Department of Cardiology at University of Maryland. And it has been subsequently confirmed by many, many universities. So the joke goes like this. 5 doctors who are under a lot of stress decided to take a little vacation and go to the lakeside to go for duck hunting. They settled down beneath a shady tree. The first doctor, general practitioner, second one is an obstetrician, the third one is a psychiatrist, fourth one is a surgeon, fifth one is a pathologist. They promised each other they will only kill or shoot the ducks only and no other birds. So the first bird flies by and the general practitioner gets his gun up and he was about to shoot. In the last second, he withdraws and says, "Friends, I cannot shoot this bird because I'm not sure if it's a duck or not." The second bird flies by and the obstetrician gets the gun up and he was about to shoot. In the last second, he withdraws and says, "My dear doctors, I cannot shoot this bird. I know it's a duck, but what if the duck is pregnant? I don't want to kill a little duckling in her womb." The third bird flies by and the psychiatrist gets the gun up and he was about to shoot. Last second, he withdraws and says, "I cannot shoot, my friends, because I know it's a duck. But does the duck know it's a duck?" The fourth doctor gets the gun up, next bird flies by, without any hesitation, boom, he shoots. The bird falls down. He looks at the fifth doctor, the pathologist, and says, "Doctor, go and check and see if it's a duck or not." So I shared that with you. I know that I cannot hear you, but even a slight hint of laughter in your body will generate so many positive changes in the body. And that's available to us all day long, 24 hours a day. Without any expense, without any side effects, we can increase our circulation by 22%. And frequently when you're under stress, we ignore the value, the healing value of laughter and connectivity. So that's why I want to share a joke with you. And this great tsunami that has hit us all of a sudden is devastating the lives of many Americans and many people all over the world. It has a very significant effect on all aspects of our lives, especially physicians and healthcare providers, because we are in the front lines taking care of these people. And the threat of the infection spreading to our own family, our own mortality is brought into issue. Many people are experiencing anxiety, fear, stress, helplessness, hopelessness. It may lead to depression, significant dysfunction, sleep difficulties, hypervigilance, frustration, irritability, and eventually it may lead to cynicism and a loss of our own zest and purpose and meaning for what we do. And many people have resorted to alcohol, prescription drugs, non-prescription drugs. The rate of alcoholism, the rate of usage of these drugs has increased. Suicides have happened around the country. So what's happening? What is that we can do to minimize the damage this is doing to us and maybe even prevent the damage it's going to do to us? Are there things we can do? The answer is clearly yes. The clear answer goes through discovering your own mind-brain health and enhancing it, because now we need all the help we can get in marshaling those forces within our mind and brain and the body to cope with what's going on. We look at the finances, they're affected for most physicians. Hospitals are suffering, hurting. Emergency rooms are overflowing. Our social life is affected. Our cultural life is affected. How we eat, how we entertain, how we travel, how we relate to other people, how we raise our families, how our children get their education. Everything is affected, threatening us from many, many angles. So what is it we can do? The secret to entire protecting ourselves and enhancing our mind-brain health is discovering the healing system in your body. You have all heard about the stress reaction in the body. When we experience stress, the mind perceives it as demands, as changes, as losses, and the hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal cortical pathway is activated in the body, releasing a cascade of events and hormones in the body, raising our inner steroids, and our own stress response increase the blood supply to certain organs in the body, like the muscles, increase our heart rate so it can supply the blood to those muscles, basically preparing us to deal with an emergency situation. But that has significant side effects beyond the acute emergency that drains our energy and leads us into exhaustion, decreased immunity, decreased capacity to cope with things because our blood supply is preoccupied. The limbic system, our fear, our anxiety are overwhelming us to the point of our healthy decision-making part of the brain is disturbed. So how do we neutralize it? There is a secret to that. Just like the stress system is hardwired in your body, many people don't realize the healing system is also hardwired in your body. But many people do not know how to activate it, and many people do not know to remember to repetitively utilize it to cope with stress and its effects so that we can come out in a healthy way and alive. So what is it? It is basically the parasympathetic nervous system. And one of the easiest ways to access that would be to activate your breathing in a deep way, to activate your diaphragm, which is supplied by the 10th brain nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, and the vagus nerve. If you can activate that in a gentle way with a deep, slow breath, that immediately activates your healing system in the body. All the things we talked about that stress stimulates in our body, more than 200 effects are there in the body, they start getting reversed immediately. And we have that available all the time. But most human beings breathe only top 1/4 of the lungs. They rarely use the other 3/4 of the lungs. If you spread the lung tissue, it'll be the size of a tennis court, and we're using only 1/4 of that. So oxygenation is one important function of the lung. But in my opinion, an equally important, if not more function, is to activate the beautiful healing system in your body, the parasympathetic nervous system, at will, to the extent you want it, to the depth you want it. And so I want us to practice a simple breathing technique right now. I know all of you know how to do that, but let's go ahead and refresh our memory. The secret is slow and deep breath, like you're smelling roses very slowly and enjoying the process. The nice, happy smile on your face. Take a deep breath to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it to the count of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slowly breathe out to the count of 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Repeat it again. Breathe to the count of 4. Count within yourself. Hold it to the count of 6. Slowly breathe out to the count of 8. Repeat one more time. Breathe in to the count of 4. Hold it to the count of 6. Breathe out to the count of 8. Thank you. That's very good. And if you practice this, the key is slow out breath is the key. That is the essence of the healing system activation. When you fill the lungs slowly all the way to the bottom of the lung, the diaphragm is pushed and the vagus nerve gets activated, sending a signal to the brain that now you are taking charge of your body's response to what's happening in the world, within the inside world of your mind or outside world, as opposed to the stress system taking control of you with all kinds of changes happening and creating a havoc in your life. The stress activation is what makes us anxious. It's what makes us not sleep well because the brain is activated, super sensitive, like a super antenna. And you can't have the brain go to sleep if the brain is activated, because the temperature goes up to 1 degree centigrade inside the brain with the repetitive thinking and hypervigilance. So the deep, slow breathing, remember, deep, slow breathing is very essential to activate our healing system. It is incorporated into many of the healing practices: yoga, meditation, guided imagery, singing. They do a lot of breathing training, not dissimilar to what we did just now. So any of the healing practices have some breathing involved where it slows down. If you just slow down your breathing, that itself activates the inner healing system. And the more longer you exhale, the more the healing system is activated in your body, reversing what we talked about. So it makes you mind calmer, more at peace. The heart rate calms down. The breathing calms down. The body's reactivity calms down to an appropriate level. And multiple changes happen in the brain and the body within a few minutes of your practicing. And long-term positive effect happen in the body in a very, very nice way. So you may say, Dr. Krishna, I don't have time to sit down and breathe for 20 minutes. You don't have to. You know, as you're listening to me right now, you can do deep breathing. Keep your eyes open, your ears open. When you're driving the car, don't close your eyes. Keep your eyes open, but you do deep breathing. When you're watching TV, when you're working on your computer, when you're taking walks, that incorporate that into your life so it's not an additional chore you have to do. You're basically finding the most important thing built into our body, that is discovering the healing system. There are many other ways of discovering the healing system. We'll talk about that in a minute. The second thing I want to talk about that's very important is, as physicians, we sacrifice so much. In fact, my heart is filled with gratitude for all of you. I know about your work through Dr. Alexopoulos and through others. For example, my son, Raja, he is the medical director of the stroke unit at St. Francis, and some of you rotate through him and said, what a quality batch of people that we have here from OSU. And you dedicate your time, your energy with kindness, compassion, and noble intentions. And thank you for doing that. But in doing so, very often we physicians, the healers, forget to heal ourselves and take care of ourselves. And one of the most important things I want you to take care of is sleep. Sleep is the last thing anybody wants to worry about, because in American culture, in all Western culture, the less you sleep, the better, more stronger you are. Exactly wrong. The less you sleep than what your body requires, the more weaker you are as far as the body's responses, your immune system, your longevity, your chance of developing cancer. It's all science. We need adequate sleep to be able to cope with life, to be able to be healthy in our life. Sleep is essential health component to our life we need to add. Somehow we've got to find enough sleep. For most people, that's about 7 hours or 8 hours. Can you believe that? If a person needs about 8 hours sleep, but they only got 4 hours of sleep for about 6 nights in a week, within the 6 nights, by 6th night, their blood sugar becomes to look like a pre-diabetic. That profound change happens. Immune system goes down with sleeplessness. We become more vulnerable to infections, especially in this time of coronavirus. You better get adequate sleep. Your immune system will be happy to protect you from what's happening. Your body's repair mechanisms don't go well, so you don't heal well from injuries and wear and tear of daily life. Your mind doesn't get repaired. In the REM phase, the mind and the unresolved feelings get resolved, just like our body repairs itself during the deep sleep. We are more prone for infections. We are more prone for cancer. Research from all over the world is pointing out that people that do shift work, that barely get any sleep, that don't adapt sleeping at other times, they are up to 2 to 3 times more vulnerable for developing cancer. In men, prostate cancer, 300% higher. In a Japanese study with 10,000 men who are shift workers who have adapted well to sleeping in the other time that they're not working. So sleep is so essential. If you take a drop of melatonin, melatonin is the hormone that's produced by the brain while you're sleeping. We think of melatonin as a sleep hormone, people take supplements. But an important function melatonin does in the body is it prevents cancer. It's highly antioxidant. If you put a drop of melatonin in a dish full of cancer cells, they will die. It is that powerful. Our own brain is producing it. Melatonin regulates other hormones, and many other useful things happen while you sleep. Plus, your mind feels more at rest when you have good sleep. Your memory gets sorted out during deep sleep. Your memory gets laminated into long-term memories from short-term memories. So those of you that are residents and medical students that are learning hard, studying hard, you need to get enough sleep to be able to remember and have long-term positive benefit from doing the hard work of learning. It's very important for all aspects of life. For our hormonal health, we need to have enough sleep. So enough about sleep. I'm going to send to Dr. Hall and Dr. Alexopoulos a seminar I've given called Sleep Like a Baby and Say Goodnight to Insomnia, based on science by Dr. Dement, the famous sleep researcher, and giving some simple tips. What is it we can do? What is it we need to do? What is it we need to avoid? But find time to sleep. That's very important. Next is your nutrition. You're all experts in that, so I won't talk too much about it. But what we eat is what our brain is going to be. And how and what we eat is what our mind is going to be. And our response to what's happened in our life is going to be. So have balanced nutrition, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, minimal quantities of red meat, and the other principles you know very well. It's very important to have healthy nutrition if you want to have healthy body and healthy stress response system and healthy resilience. Next, move your body. Being doctors, sometimes we get stuck and we forget to exercise, especially in a profession like mine, a psychiatrist. We need to remind ourselves that our body needs exercise. Our body needs moving. And our heart needs to beat at its maximum, at least for 20, 30 minutes, 3 times a week minimum. And just keep moving. It's very important. That will bring a lot of good health for us. We frequently ignore that because that's the first thing that goes away is our exercise, our moving. And don't make an exercise a chore. Make it fun. Make it fun. You know, when you go between the floors instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs. You know, park the car far away and walk to your building as opposed to parking the car nearby. So please incorporate some kind of movement in your body every day. Next, that's very important, is connecting with others. Healthy connections are crucial for developing resilience in the human mind and brain and body and life. We all need to connect with someone. We are not islands. And one of the most healing things to happen is to be able to connect with someone each day and share your thoughts, how your day went, what you accomplished, what you're disappointed about, what your frustrations are about, what your hopes are, and where you are stuck, and how you are trying to find healthy options in coping with what's going on. And be a sounding board to the other person. So have at least one person, your connecting, healing person, for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes a day. They don't have to be in town. You can do it on telephone or on the Zoom. But we have to have at least 1 or 2 people who we can safely call our very close friends to discuss about what's going on in our life every day. And that may be your own spouse or your friend or your family member or a spiritual person or just a plain good friend that you play tennis with or golf with. Please share and be a sounding board to other people. We need each other today more than ever. When disasters strike like what's going on right now, we need to connect as human beings because we're all going through a collective experience, no matter where you are, no matter where you come from. It's a collective experience we're going through. So connecting is very healing. There are so many studies that show that loneliness is a very high risk factor for health problems. In fact, loneliness is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day as far as its health damage it does to you. cardiovascular-wise, cancer, many other diseases. Loneliness is a high risk factor, as you know. Connect with people, connect and share, and do not be an island. Now, there are other important things we can do. And one of the most important things I found in my life at a very young age is discovering a brain skill called mindfulness. You have heard the name mindfulness. Some of you already are probably practicing it. But I cannot overemphasize how much benefit it has done to me and to thousands of people I've had the opportunity to serve and influence. Mindfulness is not just up in the mind. It is a brain skill. We are born with it. When you're born, you're completely mindful. When you're a young baby, you're completely mindful. But during our growing up process, somehow, somewhere, we lose the mindfulness as a way of life. So if you look at the humanity right now, probably 95% of humanity, 90% of the time are not mindful. And that is a true fact. So what are the benefits and what consequences do we have if we don't have mindfulness? We are not activating our inner healing systems by not being mindful. When you practice mindfulness, from a simple exercise to a deep practice, it does wonders for you. Within 6 weeks, you'll see the prefrontal area getting activated. What is prefrontal area? This area of your judgment, your decision making, your insight, your learning, your memory in conjunction with other areas of the brain. Within a few months, even the amygdala, which modulates the stress response in the body in response to what the world and life is giving to us from outside and inside. The amygdala gets right-sized, not only in function, but also in size. So the stress response is appropriate, not excessive like what's happening right now. Mindfulness brings inner peace. Mindfulness brings wonderful connectivity. Your relationships will blossom. Your memory will improve. Your healing system activated in the name of immune system being activated. If you look at the antibodies in the body with mindfulness practice, there's increased immune response in a healthy way. Mindfulness also decreases inflammation in the body through the genetic mechanism. We have 25,000 genes in our body. They are modulated constantly by what we do, what we see, what we hear, what we think, what we feel, and the decisions we make, how we relate to each other, how we relate to the world, how we relate to our own thoughts and feelings. So mindfulness gives you a wonderful sense of harmony with what's going on. So your response is more appropriate. In fact, with mindfulness, the inflammatory protein, C-reactive protein goes down. You can measure that, which is a high marker for cardiovascular disease, as the doctors will tell you, cardiologists will tell you. Mindfulness also gives you something wonderful, that is creating a healthy gap between a thought and an action, between an impulse and an action. That gap is worth, wonderful, wonderful happiness and millions of dollars for you. When you control your thoughts, when you're able to control impulsivity, when you're able to help your patients do these things, they will have tremendous positive impact in their life. It's incalculable what the effect is. So let's practice just one simple mindfulness exercise. It can be, let me define mindfulness better for you. Mindfulness is cultivating your awareness. We all have inner conscious awareness. It's like a flashlight. It lights on certain aspects of life. If I'm flashing at the screen, it'll show me what's there on the screen. If I flash in the dark area, it'll light up the area, whatever objects are there in that area. So the energy and the focus is on a certain area. Just like that, our mind has the conscious awareness constantly present, which we are not completely aware of all the time. So you cultivate that awareness. That's what mindfulness is all about. How do you cultivate the awareness? By focusing on the present moment completely, being one with it, non-judgmentally. Don't judge the experience you're having. Experience in its purest form, which is beautiful. And being in harmony with it, being at peace with what is, accepting it. That doesn't mean that you're passive. Accepting means you are observing, absorbing, and being one with the present moment by cultivating the awareness of that. And you're accepting what is. That doesn't mean that you don't want to make changes. That doesn't mean that you don't want to create activity and choosing healthy options, how to deal with that and come out of it. It just means you're accepting, you're at peace with what's going on in this moment, not the future, not the past, in this moment. Because the mind is like a monkey mind, goes constantly to the future and to the past all the time. Like a rolling stone gathers no mass, same thing happens to the mind. With a focused mind, you have immense benefits I mentioned to you, physiologically, psychologically, your life-wise. Your life will transform in a positive way. And science is showing clearly that mindfulness practice within 8 weeks will improve your resilience immensely. Resilience is that wonderful capability that each of us are capable of, that is, being able to bounce back from what life gives us, the stress and the losses and the changes and the attacks by enemies like COVID-19, unforeseen things happening, people not acting the way we want them to act, wrong judgments happening, injustice happening in life, in the world. We want to change that. That's why we are in this profession. But we can't do that overnight. We have to stay healthy to be able to make the change happen. So please practice mindfulness. There are a number of online trainings available. I'm sure in Tulsa, around the state, there are many centers that are offering good training, a lot of good online training, a lot of books are available, a lot of videos are available. I'm going to share with Dr. Hall and Dr. Alexopoulos a tape I made, a practice called Natural Relaxation, that incorporates many of the things we talked about, the breathing techniques, the guided imagery, the mindfulness, mindful presence and being one with the moment, and positive affirmations. A number of healthy principles are there. It's about 22 minutes. You can put on your iPhone, but please don't listen to it while you're driving the car. It could put you to sleep. The other 2 seminars I'm going to send you can listen to in the car without any problem. Now, what else we need to look at? One of the important things that happens when you are distressed or stressed is the brain goes into a negative mode. It keeps thinking about negative future. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be awful. We can never come out of it. We don't have the capacity to come out of it. And all kinds of negative images, negative messages are flooding the brain. And that has an impact on your body, in your life, and how you conduct your business and your profession. So we need to be aware of that. When you have stress, excessive stress, the brain goes in negative mode. Be aware of that and stop that and bring the brain back to a neutral or positive message system. How do you do that? By changing the perspective from threat mode, which the stress is giving us, threat mode. We need to change the brain's perspective into a challenge mode. And so instead of brain flooding us with negative thoughts and negative images and negative memories or negative forecasts, replace those negative thoughts with something neutral or positive about today. What is that I can do today? Being mindful of this moment. What is that something I have control over today that I can do today? What is that within my capability I can be thinking about doing, looking at healthy options, getting involved in something today, as opposed to letting the brain take off into this negative direction. So from no control, that's what brain is taking us to, positive control today. What is that I have control over? Frequently, positive affirmations, statements of positive nature are very helpful. You can keep on your side some of the statements like, I'm hopeful that I have the will to take care of what life is offering me. I'm hopeful and I'm excited to be part of this noble cause that I'm doing. I'm confident I will give what I have to share with others. This is the most meaningful thing I can do right now. I have what it takes and I can help others. I'm raising to the challenge that life has given to me. Good stress is oxygenating my brain as opposed to the oxygen going to the limbic system. When you have a positive affirmative statement, the blood supply goes to the cortical area where you can make some healthy options and healthy decisions. I have the will to do the best I can within my capacity. I have my community behind me, my family behind me. We can recover. We have hope. We have good work going on that'll bring us hope for us. These positive statements have tremendous benefit to the brain and how the mind and the brain react and how your body reacts. So you go from a reactive state to a receptive state with hopefulness, with excitement, and with help. I know that many of you have come to this profession because you want to make a difference. We have a deep inner longing for that. Remind of that purpose. Remind the meaning of what you're doing, what you're doing. In my own situation, I was a little kid growing up in India, and I was good in only two things: running fast. I was the shortest boy in the class because I had run away from the bullies. And the second thing, I was good in math. I could calculate things very easily, but nothing else I was good at. So I used to dream about becoming an engineer and coming to work on the space station in National Aeronautical and Space Administration when I grew up. So I had no idea about what my life is going to be. When I was 9 years of age, my mother, my loving mother, deep, sacrificing, loving mother, the most loving being I've ever been in touch with in my life, she developed a serious illness. At the time, we did not know what this illness was. Later on, we can call it mental illness, brain disease, but that devastated her, and she suffered immensely. And we were a close-knit family, and our finances were destroyed. Our school education was destroyed, and every aspect of our life changed upside down, much like what we're going through in life right now. And then my grandfather came, and he helped us to learn to cope with this. In fact, he was the one that taught me some of the skills I'm talking to you about, which science has proved to be 1000% correct. But the most important thing was, he said, there is something very important in life. When life gives you an experience like this, it is sending a message. The Creator is sending a message to you. He wants you to do something. Think about it. That's what led me to become a doctor. I became an internist and then went to England to specialize in brain sciences because I wanted to do something in relation to what my mom was suffering from and how people can be healed, how people can be restituted, how people can be put back in good emotional and physical shape so they can work and have families and enjoy life. So I did a lot of work in psychiatry then about 35 years ago. I wanted to do something positive even for people who are not mentally ill. Then I discovered that there is so much that can be done in a positive, proactive way to keep our mind and brain healthy. And that's what led to the creation of the Mind, Body, Spirit Center. We had some of the best speakers in the world in this arena, mind-brain research and mind-brain health, come here and give us seminars and classes and training sessions for all our community. So I know that in the osteopathic profession, the mind-brain health is very essential, very much incorporated, and I have admired that all the time. It is part of your work and part of how you teach and how you help your patients. So that's a remarkable thing that you're doing. So I know that by reminding myself of the purpose of my life, the meaning for my existence, the stress becomes more easy to cope with. The frustrations become more easy to cope with. The insurance companies and all the trouble they give us, the lack of proper resources sometimes that frustrate us, how people act sometimes that are irritating to us, the losses we go through, the changes we go through suddenly become more tolerable, more adaptable, because the reason for our existence is higher. Our purpose is higher than ourselves, and we are making a huge difference. You have a deep inner longing to make a difference in other people's lives, and that shining light that comes from within you, nobody can and nothing can take away from you. That's a noble endeavor that you're doing. So be resilient, practice your skills, be strong, and you'll prevail. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Dr. Krishna, thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise and your personal story with us. Just lovely to be reminded of those inherent skills that we have to restore ourselves and to build resilience and cope from day to day, week to week. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you, Dr. Krishna.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the audience for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you.